Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, National Crime Victims' Rights Week, Maximizing the Impact of Your Campaign, hosted by the Office for Victims of Crime. At this time, I am pleased to introduce you to Darlene Hutchinson, Director for the Office for Victims of Crime.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Crime Victims' Rights Week is one of my very special time of the year to me. This is probably my 27th year participating on some level. In 1990, I helped contribute to the first one in Montgomery, Alabama. Well, my first one. They were doing it before me. And as many of you know, this started many, many years ago under the administration of Ronald Reagan. And we have had it's a great opportunity for victims to bond with one another, but then also to bring awareness to what's going on in the field and the needs of victims, and to connect them to the really, really vital services that are out there. So I hope all of you will take the opportunity to do that. And whatever you're planning in your community, if it's a vigil or a walk or information fairs or award events, God bless you for doing that. I know it's a lot of hard work, and but it definitely has its dividends and pays off, and the attention and awareness that we have in the community. And I never want us to lose sight of the fact that this is Victims' Rights Week, and we do like to highlight the fact that victims do have rights and should be recognized in our criminal justice system. It's one of the most basic services we can offer to crime victims. But for those of you who work in the field or those who are volunteers, thank you so much. You're a lifeline. I know a lot of folks count on you, and thank you for the work you're putting into spreading the word and your Victims' Rights Week activities in your community. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I would like to introduce both of today's presenters, Ann Seymour, National Crime Victim Advocate, and Tara Ballesteros, Chief Program Officer for the National Center for Crime.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Ann Seymour, and thank you all again for joining the webinar. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the history of Crime Victims' Rights Week that Darlene just alluded to. I think the main thing is we want you all to become familiar with the contents of the resource guide, but the key today is really helping you get some practical application of the many components that are within the guide. So we hope that y'all share these three goals, because here we go. I'm going to start by just telling you that 37 years ago, President Reagan proclaimed the first Victims' Rights Week just 3 weeks after he himself became a violent crime victim in an assassination attempt on his life. And shortly thereafter, he had the good sense to appoint Lois Haight, who's now a juvenile court judge in California, as the chair of his 1982 President's Task Force on Victims of Crime. And the task force final report has become really the foundation of all victims' rights and services in our field since then. This is an excerpt from the 1981 proclamation from President Reagan. And as you read it, I think I just want to ask, are crime victims still sometimes the forgotten persons of our criminal justice system? And remind you that President Reagan's call for a renewed emphasis on and enhanced sensitivity to the rights of victims can be met with this year's theme: expand the circle and reach all victims, so that victims are never forgotten in our justice systems, in our homes, our schools, and in our communities. Here's a little clip from the wonderful 2018 National Crime Victims' Rights Week theme video.
The innocent victims of crime have frequently been overlooked by our criminal justice system, and their pleas for justice have gone unheeded.
When I look back into the history of the victims movement, I'm amazed at how far we've come.
Crime victims, at one point in the criminal justice system, were an afterthought.
Victims felt very isolated. First of all, they were blamed. Why were you on that street? Why did you do that? Why'd you open your door? And it wasn't until some of the grassroots organizations made people aware that, hey, these are people that are suffering. They need our help.
Now, victims in the system have rights that generations ago weren't recognized.
We were able to create an Office for Victims of Crime in the Department of Justice. That was huge.
People are more aware of trauma-informed practices. And how do we make sure the voices of who we're advocating for are included in the way that we design services?
When systems are not connected, there's a high likelihood that people are falling through the cracks.
And our job is done more effectively in a collaboration.
We're for healing, we're for building a community, we're for reestablishing a strong foundation so our communities are better places.
So the more we build the circle and the bigger the circle gets, the healthier communities we have.
I want to talk a little bit about the resource guides. In 1986, so long ago, a 150-page resource guide was developed and sent to over 3,000 organizations by what was then the Sonny Von Bulow National Victim Advocacy Center. And this was long before the internet, so I remember typing up the guide page by page on our Smith Corona typewriters, and then basically running a mail center for a week to get the guide out. In 1990, we are so grateful that OVC started supporting the development of the guide, and they soon added a theme video, and you all just saw a clip of the one from this year, theme video that highlights every year's theme. And today, the online resource guide reaches over 10,000 organizations and folks all across the country. Every year, there's a theme that tries to capture the pulse of services for crime victims and survivors, and sort of the state of victims' rights in America, as you can see from the samples of previous themes. The good news that we can promote in this year's Victims' Rights Week is between 2016 and the first half of 2017, crime decreased, and it has done so pretty steadily over the past decade. And the great news is that crime survivors have over 32,000 laws that define and protect their rights. We just need to make sure during Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year that they're aware of these rights and receive help in enforcing them in accordance with the law. Got a couple challenges that we need to address this April. Only 42% of violent crimes and only 36% of property crimes were reported to police in 2016. And as we look at especially the theme this year, we need to make it easier for crime victims to report crimes and to increase their sense of personal safety when they choose to report and to go through justice processes. And I think to all of us, to really be able to ensure that all survivors are treated with dignity and respect. What's our collective challenge this year and in the future? To increase the number of crime survivors of all crimes who know about the wide range of services that can help them in the aftermath of criminal victimization and juvenile delinquency, whether or not they report crimes, and basically to expand the circle so that we can reach all victims and that more victims access services. One of the really cool components of Victims' Rights Week each year is the Community Awareness Project, sponsored by the NAVAA. And as you all review our goals here, I just want to tell you that CAP recipients every year receive $5,000 to enhance their victim and public awareness of Crime Victims Week through traditional and social media, special events, and partnerships with lots of good folks like policymakers, justice professionals, multi-faith communities, and so on. The URL on the bottom of the slide, if you jot that down, and this will be posted, you can sign up to be notified when the CAP program seeks applications for 2019 National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and this usually comes out in late summer or early fall. CAP recipients also receive what we call CAP tips that are designed to help them improve public awareness, basically augments the resources from the guide that you'll hear about in a second. Examples from this year include a children's activity book with over 30 activities, some in English and Spanish, and a super fun scavenger hunt for kids. This year's CAP program, several folks asked for a brochure that talks about the history of Victims' Rights Week, so we developed and sent that out a couple weeks ago. So we encourage you to sign up to be notified about the 2019 CAP programs. It's one of my favorite annual projects, and I would love to be able to visit with you all on the project next year. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Tara, who's going to talk to you about the guide.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Han and Ann and Director Hutchinson. I'm delighted to take you all through this year's National Crime Victims' Rights Week Resource Guide. Please feel free to send questions and comments as they occur because we will take those at the end, and I know this is the part that everyone tends to have the questions and the comments on. The presentation today on this section is designed to take you through the different pieces of the guide as they appear online. As many of you are familiar with the guide, it's an annual suite of user-friendly resources designed to help you quickly customize, develop, and implement public awareness campaigns throughout the year and in anticipation of National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is this year the 8th through the 14th. We've included a wide array of outreach tools and sample materials. You can see some of the things that I've listed here. The original artwork, we'll talk about that a little bit, suggestions for raising awareness in your community, sample press releases, letters to the editor, op-ed, sample PSAs, a proclamation, which is extremely helpful in sharing with your community leaders and elected officials, social media posts, tutorials, an overview of the crime victims' rights movement, fact sheets, and many other valuable resources. Please make sure when you go online to review the guide that you explore all the materials, especially the sections. There's an FAQ section and an About the Artwork section, which is one of the most popular as it will help you customize your pieces, use all of the different materials accessible to you, and it also helps with consistent branding to unite our efforts. The other piece that you'll want to reference is the theme palette, the color palette, as that can give you all the colors that you need so that all your materials are consistent in branding. This year, these are two of the web pieces that I pulled for this slide for Expand the Circle, Reach All Victims. In Spanish, Ampliando el Círculo, Llegando a Todas las Víctimas. So you'll notice that the artwork and outreach materials are available in both English and Spanish, and I've tried to note in the presentation which materials are available in Spanish. Expand the Circle, Reach All Victims. So this year's theme emphasizes the importance of inclusion in victim services. To reach all victims, we must build relationships by reaching out, listening, and delivering culturally competent services, by engaging our community across professional, cultural, economic, and other divides, and removing any barriers to reporting, safety, and accessing services. We also look to forge creative, non-traditional partnerships among victim service providers, community stakeholders, policymakers, educators, researchers, and criminal justice organizations at the local, tribal, state, and national levels. We pool our expertise, our resources, commitment, and care to support the healing and recovery of all crime victims and build healthy, thriving communities that expand the circle and reach all victims. So I think you'll see in the artwork that we've tried to encompass the theme in the visual pieces. What we have included in terms of art files is, and everybody has access to these online, is the theme artwork. There's also the theme poster, which is available in 2 sizes. And please note that the 11 by 17 size is the one that you'll want to customize. So that has room for customization for your organization. And we also try to provide it in as many formats to make it as user-friendly as possible for everyone. So the files that are posted include PDFs, JPEGs, InDesign files, and Illustrator files so that you have access to everything that you may need. Also, there's a variety, an extensive variety of web artwork, whether it's an email banner, it's a Facebook, for a Facebook profile picture, anything and everything. We think we've anticipated what you may ask for. Please make sure you review all of those. And all of the artwork is available in English and in Spanish. One of the most popular pieces of the guide are the awareness posters. This is a snapshot of what this year's posters look like. Those of you that received the mailing received the theme poster as well as the awareness posters in that. This year's poster topics are the rights and services, trauma, and violent crime. I know many of you use these not only for this week but throughout the year in your spaces. As we think about maximizing the reach of this year's theme, this year's guide, and National Crime Victims' Rights Week, the guide has all the ready-made materials for you. I cannot encourage you enough to go to the website and click through to see what is available for you, because we have packaged many things to make your promotion, your commemorations easier so that you have a toolkit at your fingertips to use as you need. You can customize the materials. It allows you to engage with all your different audiences. And one of my favorite pieces of the guide are the sample social media posts that allows you to quickly share your message and really extend your reach. But at the same time as we're doing that, let's not forget about traditional media. As many of your local media, this is a perfect way to build relationships with them, to feed them information, to help you get the word out about all your different activities, and to honor the week. As we look at developing our campaign, this is one of the sections in the guide. And collaborating is an integral part of this movement. So we use the week to build and enhance partnerships among victim service providers, community leaders, allied professionals, and others. This is also a time to take advantage of the rich opportunities to raise awareness and educate your community. This I took straight from the website. I just wanted to take you through it quickly so you can see some of the pieces that are in the Developing Your Campaign section. So there's a sample proclamation, and this is perfect to share with elected officials and your community leaders. The notable quotables is another one of my personal favorite sections, and I think sometimes it gets glossed over, but use those quotes to enhance your presentations. You can share them with people who are making comments about the week, and you can also just build it in to some of your materials that you're sharing during the week. We also have presentation tips. The presentation tips section is a great one to use throughout the year and doesn't necessarily only relate to National Crime Victims' Rights Week. This lovely sample PowerPoint is there as well, so you can use this for all of your presentations. And then we talked a little bit, you saw the theme video in action clip. There is a longer version of that you should access also online, and it's a great way to open events as we opened our presentation today. The commemorative calendar lists all of the awareness months throughout the year and is a great resource ongoing, so you can see what each month is and plan that into your overall plans for the year. The other section here is ideas for special events. And both Anne and Director Hutchinson spoke about this a little bit as they introduced the presentation. So this section, this list here, will give you an idea of some of the things that you can do in anticipation of the week and during the week, including advertising campaigns, art exhibits and cultural events, award ceremonies, candlelight vigils, educational events, garden and tree ceremonies, information and resource fairs, marches and walk-run events are super popular, yoga and art therapy events, as well as youth-focused outreach. So this section not only gives you ideas here, but it highlights last year's CAPS project and is helpful to really see what some of your colleagues around the country are doing. The other major section that I think most of you will appreciate is the Communicating Your Message Media Tips and Tools. So this section allows you to develop a comprehensive public awareness campaign using both social and traditional media. These materials will help you enhance your outreach efforts if you already have them established. If you're just starting out, there's a lot of content here to help you begin and create those efforts. It'll help you increase your visibility in the community, allow you to promote valuable resources for victims of crime, and engage in a dialogue with community members. This also is something that I took directly from the guide to take you through all of the information available to you. Again, you'll see the en español on the places that are where the materials are both in English and in Spanish. We have a section on crafting a media plan, and it's broken down into a couple of different media plans where if you have a lot of time, it's more extensive. If you just have a little bit of time, we've given you a few ideas of what you can do to keep the message out there and to engage your audiences. The social media posts, again, I think a lot of you use these. The Facebook and the Twitter sample posts especially, they allow you to either take them as is or something to build off and insert your own information in them as well. We also include a sample blog this year, and then we talk a little bit about some of the other social media platforms out there and ways you may think about using them. You know, I mentioned, as someone who used to work in traditional media, and I mentioned not to forget about them because local TV, radio stations, and newspapers are more likely to highlight your content if it's packaged and scripted to them. So if you can send them the customized press release, if you can even send them a script, a local television station may be willing to work on a PSA with you, and we've included some sample scripts. So really, reach out. Now would be a good time to start reaching out to your local media. Keep calling. Keep sending them information, and I think you'll find that they are more than receptive to sharing our messages and to using these resources. The last point on this slide is working with the media, and this is a section that you should look at as you can use it throughout the year. It gives tips on working with reporters and also for how to advocate for victims in the media during interviews. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Facebook. I think probably most of you are familiar with tips for effective Facebook posts, but for something like this, try to keep it short and informative. We've all seen the posts where you have to expand and scroll, and then you kind of leave the post. So the more you can put in where you don't have to expand the post, the better your engagement will be. It's also a great idea to include link or a relevant article or website. What we're all trying to do also is to make sure that we are smarter than Facebook's algorithm, if we can be, so that you can see all of the posts. And one of the ways to do that is with links, videos, images, original content is the best way to do that. So post intentionally and engage with your audiences. One little tip that I think might be helpful to everyone is if you want to embed your link and not have to see the entire link in your post, first copy the URL into the status field, be a little bit patient and wait until Facebook generates the thumbnail, and then you can delete the URL, and so your post looks a lot cleaner and really nice. There's no doubt, I think, that we're all familiar with Twitter. One of the changes from last year's guide to this year's guide is that we were once limited to 140 characters. Tweets have been expanded to 280, so it's making it a little bit easier to get your message out, and you don't have to be quite as thoughtful. But we have given you some ideas to make your tweets shorter and more concise, which is go ahead and replace your spelled out numbers with the numerals. Anywhere where you can use symbols, contractions, make shorter words, synonyms, abbreviations, and then consider shortening your links with with bit.ly or tinyURL is really helpful as well. Social media, both Facebook and Twitter, can be used effectively, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. One thing I would really, really recommend is use Facebook for your events. Create an event in Facebook. As people say they're interested or going, it reposts it on many feeds, and so that's another way to increase the visibility of your events. When you think about where to post, Twitter is a much more immediate place to post. One of my colleagues likens it to the ticker on the bottom of the news screen when you're watching television, when you're watching the local news or the national news. So think of Twitter for things that you want to get out quickly and immediately. The information flow is constant and content gets updated as new details are available. One thing that'll really help is using the correct hashtag. So if everyone uses hashtag NCVRW2018 with the NCVRW first, not the year first, that'll make it a lot easier for all of us to communicate with each other, share each other's posts, engage in all the different activities and events that we're sharing through social media. Something else, as I know this week is busy for many of you, consider using a program like Hootsuite to schedule your posts in advance. Look at the sample Facebook and Twitter posts that we've given you and go ahead and schedule a week's worth of social media, and then you can enhance it as you go through the week. But at the very least, then you have a minimum already there for you. The crime and victimization fact sheets are another favorite part of the guide. There are 20 statistical reviews of crimes, and they provide a wealth of information. These are really great to use throughout the year. It's something that I personally provide to the media. I've sent the entire fact sheet bundle and the link to local media stations, and it's just a way to make contact with your colleagues and your news directors. They allow you to get a snapshot of a particular crime. These are also great pieces to use for social media. We've taken some of the facts and put them in the sample post, but this is also another way to engage your audiences with social media. The crime and victimization fact sheets will be posted soon. As I'm sure you're all aware, they are vetted very carefully. So once they're up, we will let everyone know, and please use these throughout the entire year. The landmark section is another really great place that I think sometimes we tend to gloss over. It's updated every year for the different landmarks of progress throughout the crime victims' rights movement. It goes from 1965 to present, and it includes the creation and growth of local, state, and national victim service organizations, passage of key federal and state legislation, notable court decisions, groundbreaking reports and studies, as well as advances in victim assistance approaches. So use this section to inform your speeches, op-ed columns, interviews, and any other education and awareness efforts. As part of the guide, we also present additional resources. So we include online resources, which are reliable resource centers and services, guides, curricula, and other training materials made available by OVC and/or the National Center for Victims of Crime. The partner section of the resource guide are those who join us in our commitment to improve victims' rights and raise public awareness throughout the country. One real easy way to engage on social media is to go ahead and right now go to that section and like all of our resource guide partners from your page, and then you see what everybody's doing, and you can engage with each other and make sure you're sharing the likes and the retweets, and that will help us also maximize our impact and really expand our reach. The OVC Gallery, which many of you are probably familiar with, but it includes the collection of past products featuring select posters, promotional materials, and artwork. We get calls all the time for people looking for specific awareness posters. We got one recently from someone looking for one from, I think, a decade ago. We were able to track it down through the OVC Gallery, and you can simply then print it out. So it's a great, great resource. As we look towards the second week in April and National Crime Victims' Rights Week, please make note that the Crime Victim Service Awards is on Friday, April 13th in Washington, D.C., and it's anticipated that in years past, it will be live streamed. The National Organization for Victim Assistance is one of the organizations that's hosting a series of events to commemorate NCVRW. You see the URL there where you can find more information about that. And then the OVC National Calendar of Crime Victim Assistance related events features additional NCVRW activities from across the nation. Please go to that, as if you can go ahead and put your own event there, and it will help us, again, reach a wider audience. We've gone through a lot of material very quickly. I will open it up for questions. I know people have been sending them as we go, but please take some time, go through, here's the URL, go through the entire resource guide, but really pay attention to the FAQs, about the artwork. Those are very short pieces that really give you the tips and will guide you through all the different pieces.
All right, we do have a couple questions that came through. Our first question, on calls from TV media about crime or crime, the media seems to be more interested in showing a hysterical victim than offering information about the organization I work for or other organizations that can help. What to do?
I would just say be proactive in advance, and most organizations have survivors who are willing to be spokespersons for them. Prepare brief biographies, and of course the media want to know about the type of victimization and what they're going to be speaking about. Consider doing like 30 to 60-second video clips so you show that these folks are really good spokespersons and engaged. And I would emphasize this year's theme. I think there's so much opportunity in expanding the circle and reaching all victims that it really shows sort of the challenges that we face in the field. So focus on the theme to get the media interested in that. But be proactive. They're going to ask for a survivor if you don't offer them something prior to that ask.
And I would just emphasize, we are very careful, obviously, about giving information to the media about victims, but I think to Ann's point, there are so many people in your community, whether it's the executive director of your organization or others that are survivors that are there already speaking. Use those people as resources and give those people to the media as many times they've done this before, they're comfortable with it, and so I can't stress enough that if you can find those people in advance, those are the best to give up to the media. Because it's a great question, because that's what they lead with. I mean, I get media requests all day long, and every single one of them is, can you please send me a victim? And I think, also changing the narrative a little bit, to Ann's point, and let them, talk about the theme and giving them additional resources that they can use.
So another question, can prosecutors' names and the office contact information be added to printed materials?
Yes, they absolutely can. The theme poster, we've actually put a spot in there for you to do that. We've also given you all the materials in different versions so that whatever you're comfortable using, and you can use those different versions to customize your artwork. So absolutely, please, please, please customize everything that we give you. It's much better for engagement and reach if they see the local information. It's a great place to highlight hotlines too, local hotlines. That would be a good place to put those numbers as well.
And that goes for all organizations and agencies, y'all, not just prosecutors. Personalize everything in the guide to your own agency, organization, or jurisdiction.
So someone just highlighted for me that as you go into the artwork, you want to click on the file. You're not going to see it in the thumbnail when you go and you just look at it online. You won't see the area of customization in the thumbnail. Go into the actual file, open it with the corresponding software, and you will see where you can customize it. Sorry I wasn't clear on that.
And read those FAQs. I'm going to second that motion because that has a lot of good information for y'all.
At this time, we don't have any other questions. We will give you a couple minutes to see if you think of anything. And then if we don't get anything in, we can end the webinar. We did receive a couple really nice comments, and I want to thank you for that. One individual wrote, "Thank you so much for the information and for supporting what we do on the local level." Another individual indicated, "Thank you so much for the amazing resources to share with our survivors and for all you do." So you are all very welcome, and we are very pleased that you are appreciative of what is being done.
We want to thank you again for joining us, and thank you for what you're doing out there in the field. Even though we got those really great notes thanking us for what we do here, if we are ever missing something that you feel like would help you do your job even better, we're here to help you guys and be a support system. So if you're sitting at home going, "Well, gosh, I just wish we had this," we'd love to hear that. Might not be able to get to it this year, but we could certainly factor it into future years. And I know they were talking about a lot of social media opportunities, but even we had to see part of, well, the one video. That's a neat thing, too, because videos are so popular on Facebook, to post that and have that running on your page, because that tells a lot of our story. And as we were talking earlier, people sometimes just don't want to read a lot of text. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, and I think videos might be worth more than that. But anyway, we thank you again for joining us, and we hope you have a very successful National Crime Victims' Rights. Oh, I think we have another question.
So we have another question. What type of funding or grants might be available to support these and other activities in our communities?
Well, if you go back to the earlier slides about the Community Awareness Project program, go ahead and if you just visit the NAVAA CAP website, it will tell you how you, too, can apply for $5,000 funding annually. This year, I think we funded over 70 programs via OVC and the National Association of VOCA Assistance Administrators. I will tell you, it always surprises me that we don't have 10,000 applications each year because it's just an amazing program where you can actually share a lot of resources with the other CAP programs. So make sure you go back to the earlier slide and learn more about the community awareness projects and sign up to be notified when the funds become available.
And even though that is past us this year and the folks that are getting that funding have already been decided, you may have sponsors in your area, local businesses that may help you pay for some of your events. And, you know, sometimes put their logo on something just, you know, is enough that they'll give you a few dollars to do some of the activities that you have in mind. So don't forget those opportunities.
Another question came through. Will the $5,000 to support events and more partnerships in the communities increase?
I don't understand the question.
I think will the amount of money increase?
Oh, over $5,000?
Yes.
Right now, the program has been at $5,000, but we can provide that recommendation to the director of OVC, who's sitting right here. So, Darlene, they would like more money.
Well, but too, one thing we always do factor in is we're able to help more communities when we have it at a reasonable level, and sometimes there may be an occasion that in the future it may increase. But I would think in the short term we probably. Because we do want to be frugal with the public funds that we use and spread it around to as many communities as we can.
I will also say I'm amazed every year at how much bang for the buck these programs get out of $5,000. They get, you know, to me it's like tens of thousands of dollars worth of publicity from their activities. So visit the website at NAVAA so you can see what's up with that.
All right, we will give you guys a few more minutes. We really appreciate some of the additional questions that are coming through. Unfortunately, they are not on topic with the webinar. However, we will be happy to reach back out to you and provide you an answer individually. All right, another question came through. Do CAP grantees have to be OVW grantees?
No, CAP, anyone, any nonprofit organization or justice agency assisting victims can apply for CAP funding. It doesn't matter if you're OVW or VOCA funded. It's just something that's open to the field to help enhance your Victims' Rights Week activities. Thank you for the interest in CAP. I'm very excited.
And we encourage it. Okay, thank you all very much for participating in today's event. We really appreciate that. And have a great day.
Make sure to go visit the guide.
And we will be posting this on the OVC website so y'all can follow up in 10 or a few more days.
Bye-bye.